Greetings and salutations, my friends. I am Pat626. I host Subculture Shock Sunday nights on Twitch. And I've been at this again. Came out of retirement 5 years ago at this point. And almost immediately after coming out of retirement, I discovered fantastic electronic industrial artist called SINE. All caps. So you really got to say it like SINE. It's all capitals. And I'm quite thrilled to have with me in the virtual studio tonight the brains behind the operation, Rona Rougeheart. Rona, how's it going?
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. Although I think we decided that instead of talking about your band, we're just going to talk about dogs, right?
Oh, yes. I love dogs. They're the best.
The best. But
they are the best.
So I'm really excited about this because like I have a special, I don't know, there's something wonderful to me about the bands that really started around when I came back, because I came back right at the end of 2017 and I know that SINE started in 2016. So like I feel like I jumped right on near the beginning and I've gotten to watch your star ascend. So it's really cool to be able to chat with someone who I've been following for 5 years, watching you just, get better and better. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, truly. I mean, anyone who's there from the beginning, I'm so thankful for, because, you kind of start out a little weird and then you eventually get cool.
Yeah, but then you just act like you were always cool.
That's right. You got to come out of the box trying to look cool. But yeah, been quite a journey and wouldn't change it for anything.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about actually the journey before the journey, doing what I call the supervillain origin story on this show. So you're making this dark alternative music, but how did you even get into it in the first place? Like, not just making it, how did you come to listen to this style of music and get inspired by it?
Well, I thankfully have two older sisters, and my oldest sister was the one that liked Depeche Mode, and she liked Cocteau Twins and all these other bands, The Cure, and I got exposed to that through her. And I didn't really latch on to the music until we lived in Houston and had season passes to Astroworld, and you get free concert tickets. And Depeche Mode had been playing at Southern Star Amphitheater, so both of my sisters were going, and I got sent along as just the tag along, and that was really it. That was my very first concert ever in my life. And when I saw them on stage, they obviously, it was the Music for the Masses tour.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Your very first concert was the Music for the Masses tour.
Yes. You see why I'm insane for these people?
Jesus.
I mean, because, okay, yes. It's funny, I was just talking to Kirst about this like yesterday, how that concert changed my life, and the fact that it's documented in the 101 movie. They actually show Houston in the movie, and I just go, oh my gosh, I was there, so somewhere way back in
if you squint real hard,
you can see a little kid me wearing all pink. So yeah, I know, pretty embarrassing, but
Oh no, I'm a huge fan of pink.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love it, but when I saw Depeche Mode, I mean, obviously they started with Pimp, but I didn't know Music for the Masses, so I didn't know the music. But when they came out after that with Behind the Wheel, it was very it just kind of was very suspenseful and cool, and they had a curtain up and you could see their shadows, and then they dropped that curtain and Dave Gahan comes out in his white outfit and stuff, and I was just like, I want to do that. So that's where it all happened, truly, is I'm just thanking the universe that I had an older sister that helped exposed me to those things. And it's kind of funny when I look back on it, actually, because when I was in like elementary school, she had posters of Robert Smith up in her room. And I remember looking at a Robert Smith poster and he had his hair all messy and his lipstick was all messy. And I was like, what is wrong with this person? Because I was just a kid and I'm like, what's happening with this person? You know? And little did I know they'd be like my second favorite band ever on the planet, still are.
I was going to say, so let's jump ahead then and let's look at your recent cover appearance on Procession Magazine.
Oh yes.
All right, because I want to see something here. So I don't think that hair is perfectly placed there. I think we've got some messy hair going on there.
Oh yes, I've got some messy hair going on. You know. Yeah. It happens.
So now
when you're rocking out.
Yep. Now you've got it. Now you know what was up with him.
Yeah, now I know what was up with him. Exactly. Well, okay, so by the time I was in like junior high, I literally was dressing like Robert Smith. I you know, the whole look that he had, I would say in like the Head on the Door days where he wore the white shirt with a blazer and black pants and sneakers or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I literally would dress like that to school. I would wear a white shirt and a blazer and black pants, and I would put on red lipstick and my black eyeliner. And I mean, that all of the music that I love, it just changed my life. And it kind of like found me a home, I guess, of, you know, when you're kind of an awkward young person growing up, it's like, oh, where do I belong? And Depeche Mode, The Cure, I love Cocteau Twins. Like my sister had Treasure.
Which is my favorite Cocteau Twins album.
It was the only one that I don't know, she might have had some of the other ones, but that was the only one that I latched onto, and I was like, oh wow, this is so good.
Because you are a woman of taste.
Yes, and it's really funny because now she doesn't really, I mean, she likes Depeche Mode and stuff, but she's not as heavy into it. But, you know, I told her, I'm like, I'm a lifer. I'm a lifer with these people, you know? So it's been fun. I love it. I'm happy to be where I'm at.
Good, because I like where you're at. It provides entertainment for me, as we all know, that is the sole measurement for someone's worth, is how entertaining I find them. Yes, and you know, I'll tell you one other entertaining fact about me too is I am a huge Love and Rockets fan. Oh, yeah. Love and Rockets. Like, so they were another band because my sister had the vinyl of Express. And I was exposed to Love and Rockets through the Ball of Confusion video. That was actually my first exposure to them as well. And yes. Yeah. Okay. So you know, and I was just like, wow, they're cool. You know, like I thought Daniel Ash looked awesome. You know, I liked the style, just everything about it. And so I listened to Express and I loved it. And this will be another like little ultra nerdy thing about me being a designer and stuff. I actually made a Love and Rockets fan website. Oh, really? Yes. And I remember it was the first time I ever did like a transparent GIF or whatever. I don't know. And I made a transparent GIF of like the Hot Trip to Heaven. You know how they have the, you know, computer generated looking logo. Mm-hmm. And I put that on a starry background and I put music to it. And I was just like, I loved them. And, so needless to say, again, fast forward into my life in 2019, where I opened for Peter Murphy in Orlando, which I'm sure you know all about that scene. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I got to do that and then befriend David J, it's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. And so
a lot of the times I look at those things and I go, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
So did you do like the stereotypical like if this were happening in a movie thing where you just kind of freeze like a deer in the headlights at first, or did you play it cool?
Are you talking about the Orlando thing?
Yeah, when you first met them.
Oh, well, see, I haven't met the others. I've only met David J.
Okay.
So he actually played a show with Curse at Curtain Club in Dallas for, I think it was Convergence Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd seen each other there, but just kind of like, hi, and I, as a fan, I didn't want to crowd him or be weird, so I didn't really like, but of course on the inside I was like,
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, it's David J. standing right there. So yeah, there were definitely those moments. But so by the time I had gotten the gig to open for Peter in Orlando, we were kind of already familiarized with David a little bit. So when he saw us, it was kind of like, oh, hey, like, oh, hi, you guys have seen you before. But it really wasn't until after I finished my set, because I didn't know that he wasn't going to make it until I was done with my set. So the day kind of progressed in a way of like, oh, he's gonna, be here and everything's going to be normal. I think our first we had a few indicators, like he needed to show up for sound check, which I thought maybe not as unusual because sometimes things can be put in place without someone being there. So that wasn't a big deal. But then when he didn't show up for the VIP meet and greet, it was kind of like a few little red flags started going up, like what's happening. And again, I went on stage, I did my set, and there were a few times where I looked over to my right and I could see the shadow of what appeared to be David J. standing there watching me with Mark Gemini Thwaite, who's the guitar player. And I was like, okay, be cool. Like, don't have to be weirded out by that. Okay, so he's watching, cool. And little did I know that he was actually studying my performance, because he was going, yeah, I'm going to drag her on stage and that dude, and we're going to do this, because that's basically what happened.
Right.
He told me after the fact, he said, I forget the word he used, but he was like, oh, I was very intrigued by your performance, and so I came out to see you. And which is like so incredible to hear from someone like me, being such a big fan of theirs. So once I finished, of course I'm about to break my gear down, because that's the first thing you do. You get off stage.
Yeah, get the hell out.
Get the hell out.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm done. I'm like, yeah, Peter Murphy, Godfather, woo, yeah, going for it in life. And then Curse runs up to me and he's like, hey, don't make any kind of face or any reaction, but Peter's not coming, and we're gonna play some Bauhaus tunes with David J. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I try not to make a face. Hi, everybody, I'm fine.
I have a porcelain mask on.
Yes. And right at that moment, I think I heard the sound of my heart hitting the floor, because I was like, oh my gosh, really? Oh no. And it was actually a really funny experience, because as soon as I was done, it was like, okay, leave your rig up there. And Curse is like, just come with me. And so I was swept away by him, and we went backstage, and David J talked to us, and he's like, basically explains the whole thing. He's not coming, and let's try to do this kind of deconstructed in dub kind of version of these Bauhaus tunes. And when you say you panic, or you ask me if I had any kind of moments like that, the moment I had was all those Bauhaus songs that we all know all of a sudden my brain just void of all of them.
Yeah.
I was like, do I even know these songs?
Who is Bauhaus? I've never heard of them.
Yes. So that was really, and I think Curse had a moment too like that, because he had sang some Bauhaus tune. He did some covers with Evil Mothers, his early band. Mm-hmm. And so he was familiar with the music as well. And so it was pretty much like 20 minutes of prep, 20 minutes of us just
looking up the songs on your phone. And
I absolutely was. And I know it sounds really insane, but my mind was blown.
Oh no, like I honestly, as much of a dream as that would be for me, I don't know if I could do it on short notice like that. Like there's a certain amount of commitment to the bit where you gotta just look yourself in the mirror and go, okay, am I a professional or not? And
yes, and that's pretty much what happened. I think Curse and I we just kicked into gear because we saw David in the band's distress. It was Mark Slutsky on drums and Mark Jimnaithwaite on guitar and David. So there's just them. And I think we really just kind of saw a little of their heartbreak because it was a makeup date. So he had already canceled Orlando once. And so that was another part of the anxiety was, oh great, the stage manager, his name is Larry, and he's oh gosh, he was the sweetest guy ever. But he did tell us about the first time. He was like, oh, the first time I had to go out and tell everybody, they started throwing things at me.
Oh no.
and we were like, oh, hope that doesn't happen again, ha ha. And then that poor man. And we literally followed him. I guess I'm telling you a little more detail than I had before, but it's humorous.
Is a great story. This is wonderful.
So literally we come out of the dressing rooms right before the announcement's going to be made, and Larry's there with us, and he and David and the band start to walk towards the stage, and Curse and I are following behind them. And as soon as, it was like, in the movies when you're going down a long hallway and they like play the sound of a heartbeat. Uh-huh. It was like that. It was very much like, oh great, what is this crowd going to do? Because the people who came for the VIP meet and greet, they were mad that he didn't show up. And this was Orlando, Florida in April, I think. So it was pretty warm and sticky out. And these people showed up in like gorgeous outfits, and like velvet and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, God, they all stood outside. It was hot. Oh. Then they get in and find that he's not going to be there, so they were already mad. And so when we finally got to the stage area, Larry walks out first and the whole crowd erupts in like, oh, and they're all like, just start yelling. And Larry starts to give the announcement. And there's actually video of this on YouTube somewhere. Someone actually has, this thing has been well documented. There's a lot of YouTube stuff up if you look. And on my YouTube page, I think I made a playlist of some of the ones that were taken. But as soon as the crowd started getting a little aggressive, David J went out there, and he was just basically like, "Hey, look, we're upset too, but if you want to go or stay, like everyone will get their money back, and but Rona and Curse are going to join us, and we're going to do this thing. So if you want to stay, great.
If you want to catch a once in a lifetime concert."
And a lot of them stayed, and it was great. We had a wonderful time. And as far as like how I handled it all, because when he David wrote out the set list, and he was like, okay, Curse, you come in here and here and here. And he's like, Rona, you are here and you stay all the way to the end. And I'm like, oh boy.
What?
Yes, because so I was a little weirded out because my rig was like front and center, where you would be as a support act. Literally front. I'm like where Peter Murphy should be standing. And I told David, I was like, do you want me to move my rig out of the way? And he's like, no. And I'm like, Okay.
Just do your best Peter Murphy impression. All right.
Well, what I did was because he wanted me to play my drum pads. So what I did was I basically just followed Mark Slutsky. I couldn't see him, but I could hear him. And as drummers, you kind of anticipate, and you can hear when buildups are happening. So that's really how I got through some of the tunes, was just locking into Mark and mimicking what he was doing, and then just accenting and then singing some backup vocals. But Curse, he killed it. He was amazing as always. He's a great vocalist and an awesome frontman.
Curse is in chat too, and I bet he will immediately say that you killed it as well.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, we both did. It's a very extraordinary experience.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of the videos, but like to hear the story behind it, that is a fantastic way to start this interview. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be long-winded, but
this is that. So that, like I tell everybody on the show, this is your interview. I want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to come in here with a bunch of questions and just like rattle through a list. I want to hear your story, and that's a great story.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the greatest times in my life. It was outrageous. I mean, I just playing my rig and looking over, and there's David J. And he's playing music and I'm standing here next to him. I was just like, this is nuts.
You can't
totally
see me
nuts.
right now, but I've just got an ear-to-ear grin just hearing this. Like,
I mean, that's why a lot of the times I truly believe that things happen the way they're supposed to, good or bad. I've had bad experiences in life. Yeah, I've had my down times in life where it was terrible, but when I look back on the things that I have experienced, I'm like, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And out of that experience with the Peter Murphy show, David J was actually very impressed by Curse and I, and then invited us that same year in November to play with him for the finale of Performa, which is a big art fest in Brooklyn in New York.
mm-hmm.
And we did that. In November, Curse was on tour with Pigface, and he had to skip a couple of shows. I think he had to skip like Dallas and New Orleans or something, because we were doing the show with David J in New York, Brooklyn and elsewhere. And it was basically an hour-long piece that we played, no break, just straight through an hour.
Ooh.
And yeah, so he had kind of commissioned us for it and said, do you want to do this? Because I've been offered this gig there. And Curse and I, we went right to work with it. And basically what we did, and this is all stuff that will probably come out later. We've actually have a professional video shot of it. We have professional sound of it. So we're looking to do some production on that and put that out at some point. Not sure when, because it's a matter of time. And David's been dealing with Bauhaus, and it's just been hard to get that out. But
right.
Curse and I created a lot of the music by just going back and forth. Like, I would create 10 minutes, I would give it to him. He'd create 10 minutes. He'd give it to me, I'd create another 10 minutes. And we would just kind of go back and forth until we filled up an entire hour's worth of music. And it was, again, quite the experience, to go to New York and rehearse with David J.
Right.
In an amazing New York studio. I was like,
this is your life.
Outrageous. I know. And I tell you, I'm so thankful for it. I truly am, because, I mean, I never thought in a million years I would ever be where I am. So
let's talk about where you are now, not just who you're playing with, but your own music as well, because listening to these stories and a lot of your influences are in like the synth pop and the post punk, but SINE is definitely a much heavier project. So how do your love how does your love of like Depeche Mode and Love and Rockets and The Cure, how does that affect a music genre that is sometimes very removed from that sound?
As far as like how I derive science sound from all those things.
Yeah, like those are your favorites, but do they influence SINE sound at all? Is there?
Yeah,
What's
they definitely do.
What's the special sauce?
So I actually, again, had, I started playing drums actually. Well, I learned how to play keys and things. My dad was a musician, so he taught me a lot of music, which is awesome. And I decided I had tried a little bit of everything. I had done keys, I tried guitar, I tried bass. Guitar and bass is not my thing. I don't think I have the right thing. I don't know.
Right fingers.
I just don't have the right fingers for it. It just doesn't work out. But I love bass. Like, I mean, on a tangent, I wanted to play bass because of Simon Gallup from The Cure.
Okay, fair.
Honestly.
Totally fair.
So I learned some bass, but again, it just didn't really like fit whatever with me. So I decided to try drums. And I really love the drums. I think they're fun to play because I like movement, I like dance, I like beats, all that stuff. So naturally I was kind of drawn to that. But as far as like my influence with music, I definitely have influences there. One of the main influences for SINE was the band Curve.
Nice.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what I envisioned at first, because yes, I played drums for bands and it was fine, and I didn't really intend on creating a band of my own. I never thought about that. But while I was playing drums in bands in Austin, I just kind of felt like I wanted a little more freedom to accept opportunities or find ways to grow that I felt that the bands that I was in may not have been feeling the same way. Mm-hmm. Or they're just, I don't know. I just kind of really felt that drive, like I wanted to make my own music. And so I decided to try it, and I'm glad I did. And it was a little different for me because I was used to being a drummer and being in the back, behind all my stuff, you see
right.
all my drums back there. So I had the security of being in the back and having all my stuff in front of me and playing.
There's a wall between you and the crowd.
Yes. And all I see are my lead singers and all these other people's
You're just
butts.
staring at butts the whole show.
Staring at butts the whole show, exactly. And laughing or whatever, because my bandmates are funny. But yeah, so being a front woman was not something that I thought I wanted to do. Like when I saw Depeche Mode and I figured I wanted to do music, I thought playing keyboards.
Right.
Just like, Alan Wilder or someone in the back doing the music. Not being Dave Gahan. Like that was not something I intended. So it was kind of
I don't even think Dave Gahan intended to be Dave Gahan.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. That's true. But I don't know. I just decided to try it and see where it went, and I was really determined. I mean, even in 2016 when I started, I played my first SINE show with just demos. I didn't even have really completed songs because I was doing everything myself. So it was kind of like, well, let's see where it goes and try to play live as myself. And the band went through all different kinds of incarnations. But anyway, as far as the influence goes, yes. So I was very influenced by the band Curve.
okay.
I love Toni Holiday. I love her voice. I love what her and Dean Garcia did together. It was just awesome. And so I envisioned something like that, but with the electronic element of like Depeche Mode
Okay.
and all those darker bands that I liked. And of course, I like Nine Inch Nails and I like industrial music as well. I liked My Life at the Thrill Kill Cult. And again, that was another story of when I played drums for a band called Dead Love Club in Austin. They were kind of like a mini like Thrill Kill Cultish kind of band.
Right.
They're mostly cover band, 80s cover band now. But when I joined, they were all original music. And we actually opened for Thrill Kill Cult twice or 2 or 3 times, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I turn around and have SINE, and I open for them as SINE. You know, so again, it was kind of like, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I was literally watching these, you know, videos on TV. Like I remember Sex on Wheels specifically. And I remember going, who's this band? Kind of interesting. Kind of like them, you know? And to actually share a stage with them and stuff was pretty cool. But sorry, I keep getting off track. But to answer your question, really, it's just like SINE is a mixture of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I've been influenced by. And I kind of take little pieces of everyone with me when I'm writing, or I have, you know, certain, I don't know, I guess, what would you say, really? I don't know. I just have a tendency to write darker.
Okay.
And as far as my lyrical content goes,
there we go.
Yes.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out how to segue into it.
Well, that is also part of the influence, because I really love Depeche Mode lyrics. I love the Cure I love lyrics. It's just amazing, you know? And so a lot of that kind of propelled me to just kind of write what I felt or things that I observed. I feel like I'm mostly a people observer.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to do a lot of judging, really. I just kind of observe life and see how people behave. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of my lyrics are kind of a result of that. So it's sometimes sarcastic and can be kind of aggressive or sad or whatever. But it's truly just either life experiences or experiences that I've observed. And the songs that I write are not necessarily about my life or about me. It's just about things in life in general. And sometimes it's kind of like, I like what Martin Gore said when someone asked him what his songs meant. And he said, well, what did they mean to you? And I kind of feel the same way. You know, it's like, well, if you listen to the lyrics, like, what do they mean to you? They can be interpreted in so many ways.
So like I mentioned to you, you are on the Thinks Too Much show now. So I have, you know, kind of sat and listened to the lyrics, and I've noticed some through lines from as early as the first single I heard from you, Drugs, which is just first of all, the repeated line, they only want you for your drugs, is just like that. Why did that not exist in industrial beforehand? That was fantastic.
They only like you for your drugs. See, I think that's hilarious.
It's wonderful.
I mean,
yeah.
And it's all set to dance music.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So from that all the way to on the new album Mantis Complete, you've got Future Horrors. You know, we're the future whores of America. And I feel like there is this there is this almost kind of mockery of edginess happening.
Okay. So that song is kind of a funny one because it has such a strong title, Future Whores.
Right.
You know, but truly funny enough, that chorus, Future Whores of America, it kind of was already there. Like for some reason, I just thought, oh, that's kind of funny. And really, it was my observation it's sometimes I say that my lyrics are like, I say it's a comedy about a tragedy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, fictional, but with true situations, I suppose.
Right.
So with Future Horrors, it's really a song aimed at that more kind of like entitled human that maybe it has fame, fortune, money, whatever you name it, that person who just continuously like either uses or abuses that. Basically I don't know if this is all making sense or not, but like I open it up, hot girl with a coma body, so sad at your funeral party, no friends in the end, no longer loved and adored. So basically I just had this vision of this starlet or some celeb or someone, influencer, or whatever you name it, someone who just has that kind of thing of like, it's all me.
Right.
Because we happen to see that so often, that there are people out there, and I'm not pointing at anyone in particular. This song's not about anyone. It's just about the idea of that concept of a person being that way, it's kind of like do anything for money, for fame, for whatever. And I equated that, just in my own sarcastic way as future whores of America, because these are the people who are either paying their way through these things or celebbing their way through these things or whatever it is. And like I said, not pointing fingers at anyone in particular. They're all fictional, like the second verse is rich boy with expensive toys.
Right.
Shortcomings, loudest noise, which I think is hilarious because people always say, oh, that guy has a Ferrari, he must have a little dick or whatever, Shortcomings, loudest noise is this car that you're driving.
Oh my God.
So, and then
there was a penis joke and I missed it. I'm so embarrassed.
I'm just trying to relate to what people always say. People always say that shit.
No, I'm aware of it. I've made that joke before, and that's why I'm ashamed. Like catching penis jokes and making penis jokes is my brand, and I missed it. Mark this date on your calendar, friends. Rona has defeated me.
No, the line in the song is not necessarily about penises or
it
anything.
Is now.
It's just like shortcomings. So whatever your shortcoming is, rich boy with expensive toys, shortcomings, loudest noise, status claimed as the one he stains with champagne and boredom, because status claims like, I'm some big shit, so people hang out with me, even though I'm boring and I'm not a good person. They, stained with champagne and boredom. It's meant to be funny.
It is.
And then sexed up lunatic, the way you lick your lips, It's like, it goes on that whole like predatory, wealthy, whoever has status or whatever, just... you could use Harvey Weinstein. I don't know, not that it's about that, but I'm just saying someone of that nature.
There's plenty of examples lunatic. We can point to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, hard to doze when there's snow up your nose and change in your pocket. It's like, because of people, it's obviously about drugs, change in your pocket for more, So I really just write things like that because I find them to be humorous.
So... Do you find that a lot of people miss the humor of your lyrics then, or do they catch it?
I'm not sure. I think some of them do get definitely noted because, they only like you for your drugs. It's hilarious.
Right.
In my opinion. But, I think that Future Whores maybe could be misinterpreted. Uh-huh. Because I had one person ask me, is this about slut shaming? And I'm like, no. No, not at all. I mean, it's really just poking fun at human beings acting ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I guess I call it future wars because, some of them could be quite young. And these are the people that are growing up and becoming part of our society and will still be kind of like that. And I don't know. I haven't really had too many people talk to me about my lyrics, so it's actually nice to talk about.
Oh, well, you should come on the show more often then, because that's like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
You can take me away from teaching English, but you can't take the teaching English away from me.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you tend to go for the more like the satiric, the sardonic, the sarcastic, yes. All of those fancy S words.
Yes.
Do you feel like, because I feel like when writing satire and sarcasm, there is a serious risk that you can be misinterpreted to be supporting the very thing that you're undermining.
Yeah.
Is that something like, I guess, you said most people don't listen to your lyrics, but is that like a fear that you have? Is that something that you've ever sat back and looked at your lyrics and gone, could this be misinterpreted? Or do you just like, fuck it, it's funny?
Well, I think if people look at my lyrics and read them, they'll realize that it is meant to be humorous, and I do a lot of wordplay, and
oh yeah, there's wordplay worthy of Bowie on some of these tracks, like.
Oh, how sweet of you to say that.
Yeah, well, because again, there's just things that that you only like, that you feel like the line is gonna go in one direction, and then it goes in another, and like that line about about change in your pocket, because so there's a whole lot of meaning. There's that the word change has always been a loaded word, being able to be both money and also like a actual transformation.
Yes.
And considering the people in this story are both willing to do anything, but at the same time are therefore boring and are nothing, and are completely flat, blank slates. That one word is doing so much heavy lifting there.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny because I mean, like I said, I'm a people observer, and I may or may not have run into people that are similar to this, or my lyrics might reflect an experience that I've had or not had. I don't know. I mean, it just depends on the song, truly. But I like writing, I guess, with a sharp undertone, I guess. In a way, it's like satirical. It's like, it's meant to make you think a bit.
Yeah.
But it's still funny. And I really like those kinds of lyrics and situations because, like the song Attack. It's the very first song on Mantis. And the first thing I say, or one of the first things I say, is, I've never met you, but I know who you are.
Yeah.
And that term is based on the notion that you meet someone and you kind of get to know them a little bit, and then you start to see what kind of person they might be. And it's it's that same thing you've already encountered in someone else, is basically what it is.
I got your number.
I never met you, but I know who you are. Like, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, I see. You're
one of those.
You're a liar, or you're, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I don't know. I like kind of playing on real life in a way, but again, it's kind of like fictional accounts of real life situations, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because like, it makes sense to me, because in taking a real experience and bringing it into the fictional, it allows you to interrogate the reality in a way that maybe you weren't able to.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Interrogate the reality. It's true, And sometimes when I play drugs, I I kind of joke and I'm like, we all have that friend that we only like for their drugs, right? And if you don't, it's probably you. It's the good classic joke, If you can't find this person, it's probably you. So it makes people laugh, and that's really all I want out of my lyrics. I'm not trying to be mean, or I'm not trying to, make anyone feel bad or anything like that. It's more of like, look at the ridiculousness of our lives and of humans and situations. It's just.
And if someone feels bad about these caricatures that you're building, maybe they need.
Relate.
Yeah, if you're relating to these lyrics and feeling like you're being insulted by what Rona's saying here, take a good hard look at your life. Look at your choices.
Yeah, really, really. But truly, it's just I actually derive a lot of my lyrics just from things that I write. I have a notebook that I write in, and sometimes I have random thoughts or wordplay or things that I find humorous, and I just jot them all down, and sometimes write stream of consciousness kind of rhymes and things like that. And that's really where a lot of it stems from.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, or I'll think of a phrase or something and just kind of go off that. And that's kind of how the song Je suis came about, which je suis means I am in French. And it's a beautiful language, and it sounds gorgeous, and the song is very sexy sounding, and it's got a cool vibe. And then I'm saying, je suis empty and a little complicated. So it's like I am conflicting this je suis beautiful sound with all these undesirable traits, So I find that to be humorous as well.
Well, yeah, it's good juxtaposition.
Yes, and I
that's
like
your
doing
SAT vocab for the day there.
Yes. But really, and songs, I'm looking at the CD right now, which looks like this, by the way.
It's beautiful!
Yay, Mantis complete, everybody. Woo! Get your own sea creature. You can name them, too.
Ooh.
But yeah, when I'm looking at this, like the song Control, that's a really aggressive song, I think. And I think a lot of us have experienced a situation like the song Control. If you listen to the lyrics, I start the song, it's the same, you've been laying on your back, so sad and tamed, you just want to bite back, right? Because everyone's been in that position. I think most people have been in the position where someone's just ruling over you, hardcore, and you're like, I've certainly had that situation before where I've had a very strong personality be looming over me, and I was just like, I wanted to get myself
that very
out of that
face, in fact.
Yes, that face. And the chorus, my mission, your demolition. That's hilarious. Because you've been in that situation when you're looking at that person who's your boss or whoever, and you're like, so
I will destroy you.
Exactly. It is, and you can make that song can be funny to you, or it can be an aggressive, serious song because you're angry. Because when I wrote Control, it was kind of came out of a thought of being an angry person that's like, ooh, I'm being controlled by this person, but I don't know how to turn it around.
Right.
And it's like there's also love and all this involved, and that's why I have that one section where it says, it's only you I've ever wanted to keep me close and never let me go, which sounds very lovely. And then I say, it's only you I've ever wanted to control. And that's the payoff.
Yeah.
That's what's funny, because it's like, it's only you I've ever wanted. It sounds very longing. And then in the end, it's only you I've ever wanted to control. So, and that's why. And
it's like the tightening of a noose.
Exactly. And so it's kind of like, that song is aggressive, and it just has that feeling. And even when I would play it live, I had a visual that I put together with like these barking dogs, that looked like demon dogs or whatever, because it's meant to be threatening.
Yeah.
That feeling, my mission, your demolition, and the way I put it all. Oh, and I had Sean Bevan mix that, and he's done a lot of stuff with tons of great people, like Three Teeth, and he's awesome. But he helped me shape that song too, and I love it. It's great. So, I could talk forever about all my lyrics,
which is neat. I really enjoyed getting like to see some in-depth writing on these. Like that's way more important to me than firing through a bunch of questions, because I feel like tonight we've been able to get a glimpse of the writing process, even about how the lyric develops. It starts as either serious or funny, but it ends up being both, and I think that's what's captivating about the music as a whole. Just like how it's both dancey and clubby, but it's not void of substance. There's a thickness and an originality to it. So
thank you. That means a lot. I will say that I probably picked up most of my sarcasm and that way of writing from Morrissey, from listening to Morrissey and the Smiths, honestly, and from also listening to Queens of the Stone Age.
Yep.
Those are all favorite bands of mine. I love Queens of the Stone Age. I love Morrissey. I love the Smiths. And I always thought Morrissey's lyrics were clever and funny.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, slap me on the patio.
Dude.
That's hilarious.
First Smith songs I ever heard started off with "I want to drop my trousers to the world." Like,
exactly.
And it's such a shame that Morrissey became such a magnificent piece of shit, because now I mostly just listen to his music like alone. I don't promote it anymore. But that also makes me happy that bands like SINE exist, because when people are like, oh, but the music is important to me, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, listen to this then, because here's another example of that clever, twisting lyrical wit that's not coming from a flaming douchebag.
Oh man, I know. I hear you on that. I can't speak for Morrissey's actions, honestly, but it's like I love the Smiths music, and I love Morrissey's solo stuff.
Well, I'm glad you're doing something with the inspiration.
Yeah, I haven't caught up with him lately much. I mean, heard some here and there's, but really, that was part of what, I guess, if you want to go back to your question about influence, those bands influenced me in that way. Mm-hmm. And Queens of the Stone Age too. Like their stuff is somewhat humorous in some ways, and also cutting. Mm-hmm. which I really like. And I also that was another reason why I really like Curve.
Yeah.
Because my first Curve album was Doppelganger, and that still to this day one of my favorites. It's so good. And the thing I loved about Toni was that she had a beautiful, sexy, feminine voice, but the lyrics were cutting.
Yeah.
And sharp. But the fact that she was able to maintain a beautiful voice and not, scream or do anything too aggressive, it's like she got the point across.
Yeah.
And so I kind of...
It almost cuts deeper when it's delivered in that way.
Yeah. And I kind of feel that way about my music. Like I still want it to be beautiful and to sound fun and energetic, but I also want the lyrics to be interesting and something that when you read or look at, it will make you think, or it will make you realize that maybe you felt these ways before. And that's also another aspect of my music, especially some of the music that's a little more sad or about depression or anxiety or loneliness or whatever, is these are things we all experience.
Yeah.
Including myself, so it's kind of like I'm also writing to others to say, you're not alone in these feelings because we have them too.
And I think that goes back to the very beginning of this story about how when you discovered Depeche Mode and then started getting into The Cure, about how you finally felt like you belonged somewhere. And I think that's really cool because now you're doing that for the next generation of Ronas that are growing up right now.
Yes. All my little Ronas I'm growing out in my garden. Just kidding. Yeah, I
make sure you feed them.
I know, exactly. Cheetos and what else? I don't know. I love Cheetos though. But anyway, aside from all that, on all of it, I mean, it's just like everything that I ever was influenced by, loved, as far as SINE goes, I just put it in a blender.
Hit frappe, there we go.
Exactly, I mean, it's a little of everything, and some of my influences come from other, it's not just The Cure and Depeche Mode. I'm influenced by Duran Duran and so many other bands.
As you
that
should
I
be.
Yeah, because I grew up with that. My sisters were like hardcore Duranis, so it's like.
Is that what they're called, Duranis? I've been a Duran Duran fan for decades, and
You're a Durani.
I'm a Durani. Okay, I'm owning it.
And I am too. And
Hashtag Durani.
Hashtag Durani. And you know what's crazy? Speaking of, I know I'm in the right place. So when my sisters like Duran Duran, I wasn't quite, I was still a kid, so I wasn't I didn't dress a certain way. I still looked like a kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I zoned in on Nick Rhodes. I mean, it was it was innate for me. I was just like, the man on the synth, that's the one I like. Because my sisters were all like, oh, Simon Le Bon, oh, John Taylor. And I'm like, no.
No.
The fashionable one. Yes.
That one.
Him. That one. That's the one. That's
me likey.
The shit right there. Me likey, that one. But really, I mean, it's kind of funny when I think about it now that I was drawn to the synth player, even as a kid. So, and I still love Nick Rhodes, by the way. I love Nick Rhodes. And I love Duran Duran. But so I have influences everywhere. One of my big influences is George Michael.
Yes.
I love George Michael.
So my first exposure to George Michael, as with a lot of people my age, was of course the video for Faith. But the George Michael song that really pushed me forward into another direction was Freedom. And there I feel like every electronic, especially goth or industrial artist, can learn something from that song, because that song is just how you write a fucking hook.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I agree with all that, and I loved all those albums. Like Older is a great album, and then he had the compilation Ladies and Gentlemen. That was really awesome. And for me, I actually, here's another little tidbit, pop-up video or whatever for you on SINE. My video for Love High was actually loosely based on George Michael's video for Fast Love.
Oh.
Yeah, because I liked how he had vignettes of all these beautiful models and unusual looking people, which to me, I will call someone beautiful because I feel like it. You know, it's like, it's not, I don't have a standard like, oh, if you look a certain way, that makes you beautiful. No, It's not that. But that's what I really liked about George Michael was, yes, he did often have like supermodels and things in his videos, which I just loved that glamour, and I liked the diversity of humans he would have in his videos. You know, it was really cool. So with Love High, I told my director, his name's Jeremy Ward, and he is in Austin. I said, I want to do these kind of like vignettes of people, and so I recruited a bunch of friends of mine and stylized them and made the video. And there's I guess one thing in particular was in the Fast Love video, George Michael's in a chair that rotates. And so they show him going around. So what we did was we had a chair and we had like a giant, what do you call it, like Lazy Susan or whatever those rotating things are. And literally my director's filming, and then his assistant director is on the floor turning these people on the chair, including Kirst in the video too. And everyone that is in the video, I sent them photos of what I wanted them to dress like and had ideas. And even, you know, Ashura Sunil, he's a DJ. Even him, he was in it too. But yes, that video was loosely based on the Fast Love video.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but George Michael, God, I love him so much. He is very influential to me as far as like the way that he put his songs together. Again, but I think he was more on the he was more sad in some of his lyrical content. But I liked that he was clever with his lyrics and it all sounded great. And then his music videos were always so stylized and high fashion. And I love fashion, so.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah. So, you know, it was, and one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life was his 25 Live. I saw it at the Forum in LA when I used to live there.
I'm so jealous of the concerts you've seen.
It was the greatest show ever, and he had this huge curved stage that was the whole thing was an LED screen. One day I'm going to have that for SINE. I'm going to be like, hey, you people who had the George Michael stage, I want it.
Come here.
I want it.
Build me this.
Please. But yeah, and funny enough, I was at another little funny tidbit was I was at the show and George Michael actually in the middle of the show called out Dr. Phil for leaving early. He was like, hey, Dr. Phil, where are you going? You're not leaving, are you? It was really hilarious. So anyway, funny little tidbit about that show, but yeah, George Michael's another great influence.
So we've been hearing all about your influences and also about like really getting into the nitty-gritty of some of the songs. So let's pretend for a moment that I've been living under a rock for the past 6 years and have no idea about your music, and I've just learned about it tonight, and I'm fucking fascinated. Where do I find your albums? So
you can find me at sine.band is my website. I know it's unusual, but it's just sine.band, and you'll go right to the website. Yeah. I know some people aren't used to the .band as a website, so I think sometimes people don't get that that's a website. But I definitely have all my music there.
Show them off again. Let's get those visual aids again.
Okay, so this is Mantis. It's called Complete because we put the first two out as EPs. So that's the newest. And then before that, I put out this one with, the label is Emergency Hearts, by the way, and they're out of Austin, Texas. And they signed me before. I was actually creating this, it's called Desire, Denial, and Paramania. It's like my version of catching up with Depeche Mode. Yeah, so it has songs on it from both the Insomnia, which you can see the artwork there, and then the Injected, which is the syringes. So it's basically a compilation that I just kind of picked my favorite songs. And I made this specifically for people, as you say, who have never heard of me, don't know where to start. I think
start there.
Yes, this one's a good one just to kind of see where I started. And then this one is kind of like where I'm going, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I purposefully made this one as kind of like a catching up with SINE type of thing. But those are the two that I have out currently, and working on new music from here. And yeah, SINE.band, and also emergencyhearts.com too is a great place to go, because that has my whole catalog and also so many other great artists.
And remixes up the wazoo.
Lots of remixes. So Mantis is supposed to be a 3-part series, and the 3rd part will come out probably next year. But I think we're going to put we have several remixes we haven't put out still from Mantis. I mean, Scott Crow, who's the owner of Emergency Hearts, he was a big advocate for it. And when I first signed with him, I had done that song called Desolate District with Chris Connolly.
So good.
And yes, very good. And Chris is amazing. So I love Chris, but we could talk about all that at another time maybe. But yeah, so the first thing that Scott did was he was like, well, I'm going to hook you up with Jack Danger's Meat Beat Manifesto. And I'm like,
oh, okay.
Me? Okay. Cool,
okay.
Right? I know.
Sure.
See? And that's what I'm telling you, is like my life has been a path of really interesting turns. But that was the first one we did. And then that one was great. It was a success. And then the next one, Scott's like, oh, I'm going to get Adrian Sherwood to do a remix for you.
Sure, why not?
And I'm like, for me?
Just melt my little brain here.
Exactly. And that is like, it's absolutely insane. And it's crazy that I actually talked to this person. And, you know, I mean, Adrian Sherwood's one of those names you saw on the 12-inch of Depeche Mode. You're like, I have People Are People 12-inch, and there it is. It's
there it is.
On You Sound, Adrian Sherwood remix, you know. So, you know, Scott was just very supportive of me, and he really liked the music and just saw a lot of potential in me, and it's been a great ride. I mean, since then, you know, we did a remix with Klaus from Leatherstrip.
Love him.
Control. Yes, I love him too. I finally got to meet him this year when Curse was playing in Seattle, and he was like, oh, your remix was one of my favorites, or it was really fun to work with. So that was nice to hear. And we also talked about possibly working on some new SINE music together. I'm not sure when that'll happen, but
I'm making a face. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm way down for it too, because I loved what he did with my music. I mean, he's great at what he does, and I'm very excited to work with him. And I'm currently just in a state of getting demos together, and I think he was on the road for a while. I think he might have just got off the road, but I think I'll be sending him some stuff to try out soon. But I mean, it's just been really awesome, the connections that I've made and the friendships and collaborations that I've been able to be a part of. It's great, and the future looks bright.
Do you have to wear shades?
I have to wear shades. Oh, you know what? I how's that?
Oh my God, those are amazing. Oh, I'm in the future.
I actually wore these on stage last time I played. I'm like, I'm just gonna be this cyber.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
But you know, anyone who's seen me live, I know anyone who's seen me live knows I like to come out in like a mask or something, and you know, I like to try different things. But yeah, the future does look bright.
Well, I'm excited for the future. And I'm looking forward to having you back on the show at some point to talk about more future stuff.
Because, I would love that.
Yeah, no, this has been wonderful.
It's been fun.
For those of you that are listening live, well, first of all, let me tell you that this was presented by EBM Worldwide. It's a partnership of DJs, fans, promoters, and producers who meet together to support the scene, charity, and animal welfare, queer rights, and a lot of other causes. You can join the EBM Worldwide Discord at discord.io/EBM Worldwide. And Chris was super supportive of this whole endeavor. So thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.
And so if you're watching live, up next we've got Subculture Shock. Normally I go to the after party, but there's so much new music that I still need to showcase that you're going to get my radio show of 2 hours of the best in new goth, industrial, darkwave, deathrock, EBM, synthpop, and postpunk. Maybe I'll even play one of those remixes that just appeared on Mantis Complete after playing Je Suis last week. And yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, then, well, you know that there are some fantastic SINE videos out there, and also some video footage of the Bauhaus show that we started talking about at the beginning. So, like, yeah, you know what to do. Go for it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and everybody in chat, thank you all very much. Just tons of great support. Honestly, you've got a lot of really, really vocal and supportive fans. Like, just
yeah, thank
a lot
you.
of people talking about the shows, and of course, people I didn't mention, like Ken Magerman in chat, Solve, Curse, of course.
Oh,
He's broken. Like, just lots of people just coming in and saying hi. So thank you all for joining tonight.
That's great. Yeah, I can't see the chat, so hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here and listening. It means a lot to me.
And stick around for Subculture Shock up next. I'm gonna kind of sit there and press play a bunch. And Rona, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too, and look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. See ya, folks.